Blob has come from the distant planet Blobolina in search of an Earth boy to help him save his world. Join him on this fantastic adventure in mysterious caverns beneath the Earth searching for treasure. Then travel to Blobolina to battle the evil Emperor. Discover Blob's amazing appetite for jelly beans and the different transformations that occur with each flavor. Learn to use these shapes to overcome even the most outrageous obstacles. This is A Boy and His Blob. Trouble on Blobolina from Imagineering Inc. and Absolute Entertainment, released in 1990, also known as Fushigi na Blobi, Blobania no Kiki. Yes, and that was horrible, wasn't it? Indeed it was. This is a very well-known, very, I guess, well-respected, if not critically acclaimed, a well-respected game from the NES, developed by David Crane. 1989 video game, developed by Imagineering for the NES. The game was published by Absolute Entertainment in North America and Europe, and Jailco in Japan. A Boy and His Blob follows an unnamed male protagonist and his shape-shifting blob friend on their adventure to save the planet of Blobolina from the clutches of an evil empire. It is a puzzle platform game, one of the, I would say, few on the NES. There weren't too many of these that played like this. That puts the player in control of the boy. Its gameplay revolves around feeding his blob companion different flavored jelly beans to change its shape into various tools in order to overcome obstacles and traverse the game's world. A Boy and His Blob was designed and programmed by David Crane. Licensed by Nintendo in the summer of 1989, development began and was completed in an intense 6-week period. Crane had described the game's overall concept of a boy accompanied by a morphing blob as unconventional, and he wanted to try his own hand at implementing useful tools for the player. Critical reception for A Boy and His Blob has been largely mixed. Though most reviewers agreed the gameplay was original, some felt it was poorly executed. The game won the 1989 Consumer Electronics Show Best of Show and the 1990 Parents' Choice Award. A Boy and His Blob was followed by a sequel on the Game Boy titled The Rescue of Princess Blobette. And after 2 failed attempts to bring the series to other Nintendo handhelds over the years, a reimagining of Trouble on Blobolina, I can't say that anymore, Blobolina, was developed by WayForward Technologies and released by Majesco on the Wii in 2009. That same year, the original NES game was re-released on the Virtual Console in North America and PAL regions. As we said, the game is a platform puzzle game. It involves a young boy and his alien blob friend named Blobert on a quest to save the latter's homeplanet of Blobolina, which has been taken over by an evil empire who only allows his subjects a diet of sweets. How horrible. The boy and Blobert must traverse the subways and caves beneath the earth and gain the necessary items before traveling to Blobolina and defeating the empire. They must evade dangerous obstacles like falling rocks, stalactites, and stalagmites, as well as deadly snake enemies. A Boy and His Blob is not a side-scrolling game, but rather presents the player with a series of single interconnected screens. Despite being a platform game, the player-controlled boy is limited to simply running left or right. We cannot jump or swim, and if we fall too long of a distance, we will die on impact. Though the player directly controls the boy, Blobert is controlled by the computer AI. The player must rely on the shape-shifting blob to cross gaps, reach higher platforms, and overcome the obstacles and enemies. Blobert can change into several different tools when the player feeds him flavored jelly beans. A licorice jelly bean, for instance, will change Blobert into a ladder, while an apple jelly bean will turn him into a jack. Whistling at Blobert causes him to change back to his original shape and continue following the boy. The player is encouraged to experiment with the jelly beans and their effects to navigate the puzzling game world. Scattered throughout Earth's caverns are various treasures and diamonds that increase the player's score and can be used to purchase vitamins at a drugstore located within the game world. Vitamins can be used in conjunction with the special Vita Blaster, which in turn is used on Blobolina to complete certain tasks. Also found on the map are extra jelly beans and peppermints, which increase the player's lives. Critical reception has been mixed, as we've said. Many reviews published noted it for being original and had a generally positive regard on the game's premise. Staff for the magazines Mean Machines and Dragon and Edward J. Simrad of the Milwaukee Journal all remarked the game as having a fun, challenging method of gameplay and being creative and original. Two reviewers of Mean Machines gave praise to the graphical quality of A Boy and His Blob, commenting, "Some of the backdrops are digitized and superbly colored. The boy moves smoothly and realistically, and the Blob himself is a masterpiece of animation." Simmerad, who labeled the game as an updated version of Crane's previous work, Pitfall, was not as impressed by the graphics, claiming that the programmer always preferred to use the available memory for the size of the maze. The four reviewers of Electronic Gaming Monthly found A Boy and His Blob to be strictly average due to its few enemies and lack of scrolling screens, although they made similar positive comments about its unique gameplay formula. One of the writers felt it never fully realizes its potential. The opinion was echoed by Lucas M. Thompson of IGN, who gave a more negative review of the game, saying, "While the idea behind A Boy and His Blob is certainly unique, even praiseworthy," he explained, "the execution of the concept didn't make it for a very fun game." Thomas faulted the game's controls, its vast empty environments, and a limited number of essential jelly beans to advance, leaving the player with just the core gameplay gimmick of the Blob's different transformations. OneUp.com contributor Jeremy Parrish predicted that the game's potentially frustrating trial and error mechanics could subside once the player is over the learning curve and masters the limited toolset and simple interface. Since the release of the original, A Boy and His Blob has received miscellaneous recognition from the media. In 2005, University of Hudson newspaper columnist Jason Poland attributed the inspiration of the game's premise, in which a young boy befriends an outer space being, to the central theme found in a slew of 80s films, including E.T. and The Last Starfighter. The writer found this especially true of the former of the two films, in which the Earthling protagonist supplies his alien cohort with candy. Although free from any Jelly Belly product placement, Poland explained, A Boy and His Blob encompasses plot devices from early 80s buddy sci-fi film and acts as an end cap to the entire film genre. The website Game Radar noted A Boy and His Blob as a milestone in a game for having the first recognizable instance of an AI-controlled partner. Despite giving it such a low review score, IGN listed A Boy and His Blob as the 74th best game on the NES, owing its inclusion of creative gameplay mechanics and a healthy mixture of action, adventure, and platforming. And you know what? It's a fairly well-received overall game. It's a classic game. This was one that, when I was a kid, everybody had heard of and everybody had played, and there was always something about it in Nintendo Power magazines and all that, and it was just a really, well-respected game. It wasn't always well-loved, but it was well-respected. It's hard. It's tricky. The movement's kind of weird, but you get used to it. I did not know that David Crane worked on Pitfall, and knowing that now, this game, yeah, I can totally see it.